All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to decode the hidden language of persuasion. You know, all those techniques used to sway our opinions every single day, often without us even realizing it's happening.
You know that feeling, right? You're listening to someone, maybe a politician, maybe an ad on TV, and something in your gut just feels off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but you know the logic is shaky.
You've probably heard a line like this before. It's dramatic, it's super urgent, and honestly, it's designed to make you feel a little bit scared. But let's ask the real question. Does feeling scared automatically make the argument a good one?
Well, that feeling of something being off usually comes from a really clever but ultimately flawed persuasive technique. So let's pull back the curtain and see how these arguments are actually built.
I mean, think about it. From the ad that pops up on your phone to the debates you see on the news, we're just swimming in a sea of messages trying to convince us of something. That's why understanding the rules of this game is more important now than ever before. So, what's the official term for these arguments that sound convincing but are actually built on pretty shaky ground? Well, it all comes down to a concept called a logical fallacy. And here's the key. A logical fallacy is, at its core, a trick of reasoning. It's kind of like a shortcut that skips right over the need for real evidence and aims straight for our biases or our emotions.
And this is exactly why it's so important to know about them. Being able to spot these fallacies is like having a superpower. Seriously, it lets you cut through all the noise and judge an argument based on its actual merit.
Okay, so let's get specific. We're going to focus on 3 of the most common emotional fallacies you'll run into. Think of this as getting a peek inside the persuader's playbook. First up, the big one, the appeal to emotion. This is the master tool in the playbook. Instead of trying to convince your brain with facts and figures, the whole goal is to hijack your heart with feelings. And what's really cool here is how you can see the different flavors of emotional appeals. An argument can tap into fear, like that education example from earlier. It can try to make you feel pity to gain your sympathy. It can appeal to your sense of pride, or it can just try to associate an idea with pure happiness. They're all powerful, and they all do the same thing, distract you from the fact that there's no real evidence. All right, our second trap is the peer pressure argument. You might also know this as the bandwagon fallacy. This one is so effective because it plays on a very basic, very human desire, our need to belong.
We have all heard this one, right? The implied logic here is that if an idea is popular, it must be correct. But as we all know, just because a whole lot of people believe something doesn't automatically make it true.
Exactly. This isn't about logic. It's about our deep-seated fear of being left out, of being the odd one out. It's a really powerful psychological tool that persuades us by appealing to that need for social acceptance.
And finally, our third trap for today, the false analogy. This is what happens when somebody makes a comparison between 2 things that might sound similar on the surface, but the comparison totally falls apart when you actually look at it closely. And this is a perfect example. Saying a school should be run like a business sounds pretty practical, right? But just look at this breakdown. Their primary goals, completely different. Their focus, not the same at all. How they measure success, worlds apart. The comparison is just way too weak and misleading, which makes it a classic false analogy. Okay, so we've seen the playbook. Now, how do we get better at being fallacy detectives in our own lives? Let's talk about building our toolkit for spotting these things out in the wild. So here's your homework, your critical thinking workout. Next time you see an ad, look past the beautiful people and happy music and ask, what feeling are they really selling me? When you hear a speaker make a huge comparison, check the foundation. Are those 2 things really similar enough? And whenever you listen to a speech, just keep asking yourself that one crucial question. Is this argument built on a solid foundation of evidence, or is it just floating on a cloud of emotion? Learning to ask that question over and over again is the real game changer here. So, why go through all this trouble? Because getting good at this has a huge payoff in how you see and navigate the world around you.
This is really the ultimate goal, right? You'll be able to see arguments more clearly, you'll be better at spotting and avoiding manipulation, and you'll even learn to build stronger, more logical, and more persuasive arguments of your own. All of this leads to making smarter, more informed decisions in pretty much every part of your life.
And this quote just nails it. Critical thinking isn't about being negative or cynical. It's about holding arguments to a higher standard, a standard that's based on solid logic and real evidence, not just on whatever emotion someone is trying to make you feel. So I'll leave you with this thought. Now that you know some of the plays from the Persuader's playbook, what will you notice today? In an ad, in a news report, or maybe even in a simple conversation with a friend. The architecture of persuasion is literally all around us, but now you have the blueprint to see it.